Again, so thank you everyone for joining us today as we go through some essential tips, your insider's track to prepare for your NHA exam. So we're excited to have everybody here today. We do want you to know that here at NHA, we are fully invested in the success of all of our candidates. And we're here to help make sure that no matter what your background or needs, that you feel confident and empowered to know your resources and also sit for that certification exam when you're ready. Now, we know that confidence is a really big part of this process. So today's goals are to, again, ensure that you know all of the tools available to help make your exam day a successful one. Now, a little bit of background. NHA is the largest frontline or entry level healthcare worker certification organization in the industry. We have over 1.5 million certified candidates. So we provide certifications and learning resources for your entire journey. So we have 8 nationally accredited certifications. 5 of those are on a more practitioner side of healthcare. So this includes medical assistant, phlebotomist, pharmacy technician, EKG, and patient care. We also have 3 certifications on an administrative side, so that includes our billing and coding, medical administrative assistant, and electronic health records. Now, in addition, we do provide learning tools that help or focus on these core objectives and professions, but today's focus is going to be just on those resources and preparing for any of those 8 nationally accredited certification exams. Now, to help us get started, I actually wanted to ask you a couple of questions. So I am going to post a poll here. Let's go ahead and find that. Let's see. There we go. I'm just curious here. You should see a poll up that what professions are you most likely are you sitting for? Are you applying for at this point? Is that medical assistant, phlebotomy, EKG? Go ahead and scroll down because all 8 are there if you need to find it. Let's just take a quick minute and see kind of those who are with us today. What are those professions that you are preparing for? You can pick more than one. If you only want to pick one, please go ahead and pick the one that's coming up soonest for you. You can also, of course, post in the chat. Thanks for doing that. See you guys there. All right, we've got almost everybody. Does anybody else want to let us know? Okay, I'm going to close this poll up in just a minute. There we go. Okay, so if anybody else wants to see this, if you scroll through this, we can see we've got a lot of medical assistants, phlebotomy technicians, billing and coding, but literally every profession is represented by you guys here today. So that is really exciting. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Excited about that. I'm also curious. I'm going to post one more question here. Those of you who are with us, how are you preparing? Are you doing this on your own? Not really associated with any institution? Are you testing through an academic program, perhaps through an employer-based program? And again, if you're selecting other, go ahead and post that in the chat so we can see if there's some alternative option here. We're just wanting to know a little bit about the folks who are with us today. So take a quick minute, let us know the one that most closely associates with you and how you're preparing to test. Okay, you guys are doing this really fast. This is great. We got almost everybody already. We can see academic institutions posting in the chat. Perfect. We're just going to close this up. Anybody else want to let us know? Perfect. All right. So we can see that the bulk of you, and this is actually pretty normal, are here through an academic program, a school of some kind, though we do have a pretty large portion of you who are here testing independently as well as through your employer. So thank you all so much for being here. We're excited to go ahead and get started and dive into some information. So we're going to walk through the journey of preparing for this exam. And wherever you are in your process, we're going to look at some of the key things that you can do to get you through your studies and preparation and hopefully become NHA certified. So as we're doing this, again, I'm going to ask you one more question because this is an important one. I'm curious. Let's see, here we go. What is the most important thing for you to learn today? What are you really hoping to walk away with? This is a live presentation, so if there's something here that you really need to know, I want to make sure you get it. So take a quick minute. These are the common requests that we get from candidates like yourselves. So take a quick minute and let's just see what is the most important thing. If you select other, which is at the bottom, let us know in the chat. If there's something that you don't see listed here, we want to know about it. We want to make sure this information is helpful for you, and we're here to bring that information to you today. So just take a quick second. Perfect. I see a couple posts in the chat. We're definitely going to cover this information. I love these ideas, you guys. Great. Keep it coming. I'm going to go ahead and close this poll down. All right. Looks like the majority of people say all of the above, which is great. No worries here. We've got a lot of other suggestions. And for those of you, if you do have to leave early, that's okay. We are recording today. You will be receiving a link of this recording in your email if you registered for today's session. So, but do try to stick around with us as long as you can. It's much more fun to do it in person. So I'm going to go ahead and move into, so based off of that, just so you know, today's focus is on the question we're always being asked, and that is, what can I do to be sure I pass my test? Well, here's the thing. We can't promise that you will pass the exam, but we can see the building blocks of success based on learners across the country like yourself. So we look at those outcomes from all of our candidates to see the most common things that you can do for success. And we're going to walk through these with you today. So let's jump in. The first step is to really understand the exam. And I know that was some of the questions that we had posted in our chat as well. So the first thing is about certification in general. Why is it necessary? Well, we work with employers across the country, and we know that they really value those candidates who have this certification. We see this in that those who do are more likely to get hired in the first place, often have a higher pay scale, better job security, even pathways for career advancement. We also know that having this certification shows employers that your skills are credible. You have a set of abilities that will provide them with improved standards of safety and care. This is often what employers are gauged by. So this is really valuable for them, for you as a candidate to have. So here's an example. Even though a job posting may just say they're looking for a medical assistant or pharmacy technician, when HR managers go in to screen those applications, having your national certification will make you stand out. We see this in that a recent survey reflected that employers across the country, 91% reported they would hire a candidate who has a certification over one who doesn't. It's a huge percentage of employers. A couple of the things we took away from that survey is that the most important soft skills that a candidate needed to show were professionalism, critical thinking, dependability, and verbal communication. Now, of these, critical thinking and dependability were the most often missing in potential candidates. Now, NHA does have some supplemental resources that you can use to help you with these, but this is important as you're looking ahead at that career path. We've also seen some other industry trends in the last few years, and we know that on average, employers are having a really hard time locating qualified candidates. There's also been an increase in employers saying healthcare employees have more responsibilities. And on average, they're lacking required EHR or EMR skills. So getting your industry certification, or better, even stacking that with additional certifications, provides employers confidence that you are equipped to do the job at hand. We discovered from that survey that 95% of healthcare employers actually highly encourage or even require that their staff have their industry certification. And 74% of HR teams will use, if you do have one, in a screening process prior to hire. So that means not having your certification might mean you don't even get that first phone call. Now, we've seen that it can help you get your foot in the door, but it can also help you earn more income. Again, of those interviewed, the majority of employers confirmed they will increase pay when an employee has or earns that certification. So understanding what it is and how the test works aren't the same thing. So let's start by talking a little bit about the test plan. This is the blueprint, the outline of the exam itself. It's posted on our website, and this test plan provides the overview of the specific topics, concepts, and knowledge pieces that we will be checking you on during that exam. So knowing how this works is a big part of your readiness. I'm going to ask you a quick question. You can see here, we did actually also poll. We surveyed a bunch of candidates across the country, and we found that they had some pretty common concerns prior to testing. And I'm curious, as we look, what do you think of this same list? There's a new poll up on your screen. What's your biggest concern? What's your biggest worry as you're preparing for this test? So let's go ahead, take a minute, read through these again. And it's okay. You're in good standing. People across the country said all of these. Now, if there's something else, if you want to post other, let us know in the chat. You know, what is your biggest concern as you're preparing for this test? I see people are posting worried or concerned about passing the exam, right? That's one of those options listed there. Okay, thank you, everyone. We've got almost everybody here again. Great job getting through these real quick. I'm going to close this poll down in just a second. And then I'm going to share with you kind of statistically where you sit. Let's end that up right there. Okay, perfect. So just so you know, I'm not going to share these results with you because if you look, for those who answered this same question, all of these were struggles for candidates, but test anxiety or that confidence in passing the exam was everyone's biggest concern. It's the largest concern that we get. So you're not alone. As a whole, we are most worried about what we don't know. So again, the test plan is a big part of understanding what you're going to be testing on and is a strong first step for confidence on exam day. So to find the test plan, they're on our website under that Get Certified dropdown. You locate the certification you're preparing for, scroll through that screen, and you'll find at the bottom the option to download the free test plan. So they're all available for you. Locate yours. You can view it at any time. But the scoring of the exam is special. So let's talk about that. So that test plan outline that you're going to see, this is the blueprint, right? Everybody follows the same blueprint. They get the same amount of scored questions in the same areas. So everybody answers the same. Now, one thing you should know on all of the exams, there will be a certain number of questions that aren't scored. The test plan should identify how many there are, but you're not going to be told which ones those are. They're labeled as what we call pre-test, but that does not mean they're the first questions on the exam. They're not a part of the test. So please know the best is to answer all questions to the best of your ability. So now everyone follows this test plan, but not everyone has the same questions. So to fairly score everybody across these same questions, we evaluate all of these questions across a variety of things. Mostly, how hard is it, right? How hard is that question? Some other things go into it too, like how often will you be asked to do this thing? Or even how important is it you get this question right the first time? So these are just some elements of it to help evaluate the weight or the value of every potential question. So no matter what, your exam, no matter which test you're taking, has a maximum point value possible of 500. So everybody has a fair shot. Everybody can make up to 500 points on the same amount of questions. Now, the minimum to pass is 390 or higher. So even if you miss by 1 point, like getting a 389, for example, that doesn't necessarily mean you missed one question, but that you didn't make the minimum required score once all of those were tallied up. This is not like an 80% pass rate or an A, B, C grade. This is based off of your unique set of questions that you got on your test. So please know that the scoring is based off of your specific exam outcome. Eligibility is another question we get a lot. How do you know you're eligible? Well, our website does have a really quick quiz you can take. This is also available on your home screen of your account where you can go through and check that eligibility. But to cover it really, truly, you have two real key options. going through what we call a training program. So those of you in an academic program with a school, that should pretty much cover it. But completing a recognized or accredited academic program or one through your employer, this is an eligibility piece. Now, if you're not doing this through an academic program, that's okay. You, however, do need to either be within a certain period of time of completing a training program or have met 1 full year of work experience in the last 3 years. So a lot of potential for opportunity here. We also have some eligibility pathways through training that's military focused. So all of this is out on our website or in the NHA Candidate Handbook, easily downloadable if you have any additional questions. So again, the group of you here who's here with an academic program, for the most part, you should be all set for eligibility. Okay, so let's really start talking about this timeline, right? About getting started and studying for this exam. So we're going to follow this idea from the start of your readiness all the way through to completion. And the first thing you really need to do is check in with your institution. If you're doing this through an institution, they may have a certain process for you to take to get your account set up. But if they're setting you up through the NHA account, whatever that is, get started as early as you can. Right? We want to make sure that you do get initiated, get everything established, even get your resources early so that you can feel ready and prepared and have more time in study. That's really the first step, is getting access to that account. Check with your institution first, but creating your account or being invited to it is kind of the first step. Now I'm curious, I'm gonna ask another quick question here. Let's see, there we go. How many of you here with us today already have your login set up, either through your institution or not? Let's just take a quick minute. I've not yet, I don't know, I'm a teacher, whatever those things are. Take a quick minute and just post on that poll there. All right, let's get everybody in there. Got almost everyone here. And it looks like the majority of folks who are with us today do already have their login set up, which is great. We do have a couple of key things about that login. Again, always double check with your institution just in case if there's something special that you need to have there. But let's take a look at that. So for those of you who haven't, we're just going to cut through this real quick. You don't want to make a new one. If you already have a login, please do not create multiple logins. We'll give you that announcement here. We do have a little chat feature on our website. It changes what it looks like periodically, but that's what it looked like when I took this screenshot. If you have any questions, reach out to them. You do need to go through this account, setting up your eligibility, acknowledging the terms of use, registering, right, either as an individual, through an employer, through an academic program. But one of the things it asks you, or is going to ask you, was if you plan to get certified, and then if so, when. Don't worry about this date. This is a date that we ask just to see what is that going to look like. It helps you set that mindset that you can do this, and it gives us the ability to send you information at the right time. So don't worry about that date. That's not the date you're going to have to test. That's just a date that about which you might. Couple other of key things is I want to make sure that your email address and password are ones that you will check frequently and ones that you will remember. So some programs do require that you use an institution-based email, but eventually once you are certified, update that. Think about where do you want your password reset email to go if you forget, right? That password requirements, you want to be able to remember it. You do not want to be stuck in a testing space, unable to take your exam because you can't remember your password. So do double check those things. The other really important thing about your NHA login is to be certain that your legal first and last name, whatever is on your government issued photo ID, is what you use on your account. That ID is what they'll use on exam day to confirm you. And if it's not the same, if you have a nickname on your NHA account, for example, you may not be allowed to test. And we don't want that. So double check it now. If you need to change it, reach out to our customer service team. They'll be able to help you with that. Now, once you have that account set up, do check your email. We will send you reminders, helpful tips. Once you are certified, hey, it's time to renew. So just keep that email active so that we can be in touch with you with those important announcements. Now, you remember that survey I told you about the candidate one? Well, across 6,000 candidates, we found out that they wished that they had studied with NHA's materials earlier and more frequently than they did before sitting for their exam. So that leads us to tip 3, studying for the exam, using the resources available to you. Now, we know that across the country, those who use these tools and follow best practices when studying, along with whatever additional content they have a much higher possibility of passing the exam in their first attempt. Now, I'm going to ask another question here. I know I've got a lot of questions today, but I'm going to ask, let's post it. Do you or will you have, do you think, or get the NHA based exam study materials? So these are the materials provided by NHA. There's a couple different options here. I've been provided them. I've purchased them for myself, all these different pieces. So just curious to know a little bit about where you are here. All right. Give you guys just a second to read through these options. Perfect. Great. I'm going to close this one up in just a second. Love it. So we have a real variety of responses here from I've bought them for myself, my program provided them, I'm going to get them, I'm not sure. So we're going to take just a quick minute and talk a little bit about what these are. Okay, I think it'll be a valuable option. So let's discuss that. NHA's exam prep materials are built based on the test plan for that exam. So that's its core. The prep package includes an online study guide and a series of practice tests. So these include reporting tools, personalized reports, a unique study tool called the focused review. We're going to take a look at what these look like here so you can understand how they function. So again, many programs provide these through their tuition, but not all. So whether you choose to purchase these yourself or get them through your institution, you can access them through your My Study Materials area. So just check in, make sure we get them started as soon as you can. Now, we are going to send reminders and walkthroughs through your login email, so do keep an eye on those. They will also include even resources on what to expect on exam day, troubleshooting guides, and we have all of these on our website for you to download as well. Now, depending on your program and resources, you may be directed to begin with a baseline assessment. Or you can begin with your study guide first, working all the way through each lesson or module before taking the end of module quiz. So let's take a look at what those look like. The online study guide has a lot of amazing features. It may look different, again, depending on the materials that you have, but they all have similar functions. So we're going to walk through these. First, it's always going to be broken into categories or sections, each one aligned to a core content area from your exam. It's not enough to study all by itself. This is not an academic program, right? You need to keep your grades up in your school or work with your employer, but this will help you walk through how NHA will test you on this material, how we talk about it. Through your study guide, you have access to activities, games. There's going to be little checkpoints and assessments, quizzes. There are also glossary terms and flashcards. There's even a series of professionalism videos. These can really help in your understanding of what is expected of you in this new role. Not just can you do the job, but are you a good employee? Now, we also have additional learning tools you can purchase or use that will help build on those skills, but that's a different conversation for another day. So for those of you using our newest materials, that would be for the medical assisting, the CCMA, or the medical administrative assisting, CMAA, your view is going to be a little bit different, but the same information is all here. To access your menu, you just go to that little menu icon in the upper left-hand corner, and this is where all of those same items will be listed, including additional glossary terms and resources. So lots of information there. Now, once you've completed that module, you should then take the quiz tied to that chapter to see how well you did. Now, these quizzes are designed to look and feel just like the exam and also the practice tests. They're focused, however, in just one area, so you can see how ready you are to move on. And we're not just going to tell you if you got the question right or wrong, but we also provide the reasons why. So this gives you information behind the question. Why do we answer it this way? Why does it look this way? We don't want you, because you do get the answers to the quizzes, to memorize these, to just take the quiz over and over again just so that you get a good score. That is not going to help you. Use this quiz to understand where you fall. Go back and study more, right? To grow that score. That's the important part, is the study. Now, once you've gone all the way through the study guide, it's time to test your exam readiness by taking a practice assessment. Now, you may have already completed a baseline. That's okay, no worries. That gives you kind of a foundational place to know where you start from. But whichever you're prompted to do, start with your next available test. Now, these practice tests you have access to are designed to look and feel exactly like the exam, though they aren't weighted, so their scoring is different. You're going to be taken through several different test versions with a total of 6 possible attempts. Now, like the quizzes, just because you get a bunch of tries doesn't mean you should take them all right away and memorize questions. These are designed to help you prepare and study for your exam. So each of these attempts is the full test plan, right? The quizzes are just one portion. This is the full amount. So they follow that full outline for all scored questions and reporting. And again, these are not going to be an ABC style grade. The scores you receive are not scored the same way as the exam, and neither is an ABC percentage. This is used to define kind of where you fall on your mastery. There are rationales like the quizzes potentially available. Your institution may turn those on or off, just kind of depends on their program. But though you get 6 attempts, we really do recommend that you take at least 4 and try for at least 2 attempts as close to a real exam experience as you can create. So time yourself, right? Have those rationales turned off, whatever you can do to feel like that exam. It will really, really help with test anxiety. So let's walk through step 3 on this timeline. We talked about getting access to the NHA platform. The next piece is obtaining your online study guide, right, to start studying as soon as you can. Many institutions provide these as part of tuition, again, but not all. So just double check with your institution. From there, we do recommend that you work through the study guide, modules, and quizzes, using it well, using it strategically to help prepare you for the exam. And then when you're ready, take the first practice test, hopefully in as close to a real exam environment as possible. Now that actually leads us to some other things. So along with your practice tests, NHA has something called the focused review. Using this and your personal reports is tip 4. Excuse me. So the focus review is a different tool. It comes after each practice test, along with your report, to help you focus your studying while you prepare for the next attempt. It makes sure that you actually go in and study more rather than just jumping into the next thing. So after each attempt, you get a personalized score. It will show you how you scored in each area. You're not going to be told what question you missed, but what competencies to work on. This is to be sure you go back and study again on those areas you maybe haven't mastered yet. From there, you can immediately launch your review. Let me show you what that looks like. There we go, right there. So the focus review helps you study what you need still to learn, right? We want you to spend time in this in between each practice test to continue that focus. So this is a unique tool specific just to you and that one practice test attempt. It's going to help kind of weed out the stuff that you did well and focus in on those areas to continue to improve on. So the best way to continue growing is to challenge yourself to learn more, right? This is a filterable resource. You can highlight areas, you can print it. It is something that you can use at any point. You can go back and revisit it whenever you like. It isn't interactive like the study guide, but it is filtered to just that material that you'll need and is a really important piece of your studying. Along with that are your score reports. So this is your personal reporting that you get the moment you start in any piece of this material. So we're going to just give you some highlights here. So to view your reporting for your study guide, you'll see that in your lessons, you can select to expand information first. This is going to give you some highlights, our suggested time and study, your most recent access date, or even, oh, that went away real fast. The best way to see all of this, however, is locating your progress report. This is going to be the key to give you all of the information that you need. Your module cards just give you some real high level pieces, but your progress report is important. Your practice tests look the same. You can expand any practice test and see an overview of your completion. So this includes your score, your accuracy. Again, this is not a letter grade. It's just saying out of this many questions, how many did you get correct? It will let you know how much time you're spending in your focused review, and also outline the key topics that you missed questions on. So these are kind of the most important pieces. Now, again, selecting progress report will take you to that deeper dive of your personal material. Let's see. The most important thing, and let me just outline this, isn't necessarily what score you get, but that you see improvement from one to the next. That's really where the focused review comes in play. We really want you to take some time and do that studying. It's not about the score you get, but about growing as you take them. So let's look at that progress report and see how we can see what you're doing. Your progress report will bring you to this kind of overview page that will give you access to any materials that are included in your course. So if you've got a course with lots of different resources in it, you might want to kind of take a look at what you're seeing, but it's going to show you to begin your week at a glance, kind of what I've been doing and for how long. Your study guide is going to cover overall usage, as well as your trends in studying over the last few weeks. We'll see practice test information, and then you also be able to see any assessments. So all these different pieces. Now, one thing I want to highlight here, this is where you'll see your full time in study. Every time you log in to your study guide, it's going to begin your clock at 0. And that's okay. We're capturing how much time you're spending in that session. So just know that's normal. If you want to see your full time in a module, this is where you should come. Okay. So from here, you can then kind of dive in a little bit deeper. You can go into modules, assessments, or your suggested review. So reviewing your modules, you can see your details for quizzes as well as session history. So your quizzes will outline what you've taken, your scores, and then your session history will show you a little bit more information, right? About when did you log in? How much time did you spend each week? So this is giving you those kind of snapshots that we were talking about just a minute ago. In your assessments, which is where we're going to go next, you'll see each practice test. You can see how accurate you were, information on your overall score, suggested and completed time, right? So we'll tell you how much time we suggest and how much time you've done in your focused review. You'll also be given how much time you spent on each question on that test. Now, this is a really important part of exam success, taking the time to read each question fully, as well as all answers provided and working through that to discover the most correct answer. It's an important step in test taking strategy is pacing yourself. You don't want to spend too long on any given question, but at the same time, spending too little might be worse. So take your time. We also have suggested review. So in the suggested review, you can see based on your exam attempt, it's going to break down each attempt here at the top, and then you can scroll in deeper to each competency. So here we're looking at administrative assisting, and it's going to show you that particular area. So you can scroll all the way down to even the specific percentage from that test plan of that one area to go back and review further. So just giving you some information there. Let's take I'm going to take another quick poll here. Let's see. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about exam day, but before we do, how many of you have already applied for your exam? What do you think? Yes, I have. I'm going to. Not yet. I don't remember. Whatever you like. Go ahead, take your time. Okay, so we got most of you here. There we go. I can see all the different answers coming in. Thank you so much. Got almost everybody. All right, I'm going to close this poll down, and it looks like we've got almost a tie between those who have applied for and scheduled and have not yet applied. So that's interesting. That's very exciting. We've got a lot who've applied for and not yet scheduled, and that's okay. Wherever you are in your journey, this is important information to share. So let's talk a little bit about that. A running theme through all of tip 5 is to plan ahead. Studying takes time. Knowing what to do, when to do it is an important piece of making sure your exam day is successful. I mean, surprises are great when it's your birthday, but not when you're taking an exam. So when we're talking about studying, some of this means preparing over a period of time, not just the week before. Take some dedication. This can start by establishing study goals, right? Establishing study goals and sticking to them. Set certain times each day that you take a bite out of the study. No one expects you to do this overnight. Studying on your own is essential, but it can really help to have a study group or partner. Group study helps for you to teach concepts you're comfortable with, to learn from others. It's a great way to have something stick better through a shared experience. Having a friend or a buddy can really help. But if you don't have that, let NHA be your partner. We do have a flashcard focused mobile app that you can download once you have access to your NHA study materials. And we can help you with those flashcards to help you with some of that retention of your knowledge. Now, another piece of this is applying for your exam, right? That's an important element. Some of you haven't gotten there yet. There are usually program requirements, so do double check, but you do need to do this a certain amount of time before your exam date. If you're testing on site at your institution, exam registration usually is required 2 weeks in advance. If you're testing through a PSI or third party or remote, your application will actually expire if you apply and then don't test within 6 months. So there's a window, right, for how early this should happen. But no matter what, if you're testing on or off site, applying should be simple to complete. We've got a how-to guide available to you that walks you through the whole thing. There's a little green checkbox at the top that will take you all the way through each step. Now, planning ahead also includes being ready for the test. And one of those is don't forget your password and your ID. So in the days before your exam, check that you know these. You will not be on the same computer, probably, that you've been studying with, so none of your saved passwords will be there. And you don't want to be stuck in the exam room, not able to log in, right? So double check those things. All right, final tip for a successful exam day is dealing with additional test anxiety. So how do we do that? First thing, be prepared. Assemble everything you need the night before, your ID, a pencil, watch, set your alarm. Be sure you arrive early. You will feel better knowing you're ready to go. Don't cram before the exam. I promise, last minute study sessions actually increase test anxiety, which will make you more anxious during your test, will not help you during the exam. And I know this sounds silly, but getting a good night's sleep and eating a healthy meal can really help your body to be prepared. And so does staying positive, making sure the things you're saying to yourself are kind. They've proven it scientifically. You remember bad things about yourself easier than good things. So tell yourself you can do this. It will stick if you say it enough. It really will help. Now, on exam day, no matter how or where you're testing, be early, right? If you're testing at your institution, show up early, be prepared, know the room you're testing in, when the exam should start. If you're testing at a PSI testing location, know where it is, look it up in advance. Allow extra time for traffic, parking, physically walking into the center and finding the room. If you're testing through a remote test, ensure your computer is compatible and your test space is ready. Now, we have resources to help you with this, no matter what your testing method, but these are key things for success. During the exam itself, I know it's hard, but try not to get discouraged if you don't know an answer. but don't skip it. There will be, I mentioned, questions that NHA doesn't score, and you're not going to know which ones those are. So if you're unsure, rule out all the wrong answers first. Use your knowledge to answer to the best of your ability, and then bookmark it if you must to review at the end of the test. Bookmarked questions don't get submitted. So don't leave any bookmarked when you finalize your exam. Make sure you go back. So we want to make sure you try to answer to the best of your ability. Read every question fully. Watch out for those that says which of these is not, for example, or anything that says all of the above in an answer choice. If you can clearly eliminate one answer choice, then you know that all of the above is wrong. You want to make sure you read through all of those answers before picking yours, because there's always one correct answer. Though it might look like there's more than one, there's always one most correct answer. So take your time, read through it. Don't hurry yourself, right? So with all these resources available, how do we make sure your exam day is great? Let's revisit this timeline. Start by creating your NHA login as soon as you can, right? I know that might depend on your institution, but now is a great time. If you can, or if your program is providing it, get access to those materials. We know that over 6,000 certification holders said they wish they'd done this sooner and studied better. Don't be like them, right? Now, on that, following good study habits is an important part of this process. With the NHA materials, we recommend you go through the study guide first, unless you've been prompted to do a baseline test. And then when the time is right, then start those supplemental practice tests. These follow the full test plan, so use them to see how you do on the exam itself, not to memorize questions. And then use your focused review to study in between. We want to grow that score from one test to the next. And remember to have at least a couple and as close to that real exam experience as you can have. Time yourself so you can get used to that feeling. Be sure to apply for your test as early as is realistic, as early as you can, ideally at least 2 weeks before your preferred exam date. The day before your test, double check your password, your email, make sure everything is ready to go, right? Everything is set up so that you can make sure you log in. And then remember to show up early on exam day. Plan ahead for traffic and parking. And then finally, you can take that NHA exam and become NHA certified. Now I'm going to give you one bonus tip. What comes next? So once you pass your exam, which I'm so excited for all of you, you can keep going. There's always ways to move on, to further your career, stack those certifications with others. Depending on your program or work experience, you may already be eligible for the eHealth Record certification. We have a job board posted on our website where employers across the country are searching for certified candidates. Use it. We have a blog space where we're posting interview prep tools, job search tips, resume writing suggestions. Beyond that, remember that you do have to maintain that certification. They don't last forever, so you can do that by continuing education through your NHA portal. You can upload completed coursework. And actually, those skills developers I was talking about with professionalism and soft skills, they apply for that too. So you just look into those if you're not already working on them. And finally, let us know. Post the hashtag NHA certified or at NHA. We love hearing from you. We really want to see about your story and celebrate with you. Now, if you haven't, we do recommend having a professional presence. So create a LinkedIn profile if you can. Add those credentials. Employers do Google you. They will. So make sure they can see that you have your certification. Oops, I went a little fast there. Put them after your name and your email. Talk to any resource you have. If you have a career services representative or director. And then, of course, don't forget to save our website and come back and look at those blogs, look at those resources available to you. This is just one example of a candidate testimonial that we have out on our website. I want to take a little minute. I know this might get a little bit tender, but we really do love hearing from you, and we know that this is really hard. What you're doing, how you're preparing, this is difficult. Working in healthcare is hard, but it's also incredibly rewarding. And myself, the team here, all of us at NHA, we're really proud of you for taking this first step. It's a big first step, and you're changing lives, not just yours, the lives of those around you who are watching your hard work and dedication And I promise this will make a difference. You will make a difference. So I can't wait to see your face here, hear your testimonial when you post it online. We're excited to hear from you soon. So we're going to get to Q&A. But before we do, quick reminder, we are recording this, so you'll be receiving that recording in your email. But also, we're going to be posting in the chat here out to everyone a survey for you to fill out. Everybody who does this will be put into a raffle for a $50 gift card. So please take a quick minute, open up that link as soon as it gets posted, and just have it open. Fill that out. It takes 2 seconds, maybe 4, but it won't take very long. Fill out that survey for us. And then we're going to go ahead and move into Q&A. Thank you, Lauren. There we go to everyone. You should see that survey right there. So I'd love to open up to the team. What are some questions that we've had today so we can maybe get those answered for everybody?
Hi, Laura, this is Mary. Up front at the beginning, it was the question of what is the period of time that you have to wait to retake, and what is the cost for that exam?
Oh, retakes. You know what? That's a really, really great question. Let's walk through that real quick. I actually have some information on this. So as a little visual aid to talk about what happens if I don't pass my exam. I, like you, am a worst case scenario person. I sort of expect I'm not going to pass things. Super stoked when I do, but preparation is key. So here's what we're talking about. If you do not make the minimum score to pass, you can apply for another attempt immediately, but you cannot take that attempt for at least 30 days. There has to be a 30-day window in between the first and second attempt. Unless your institution is paying for it, it will be a new fee for that exam. Okay, so what happens if I don't pass that attempt? Well, we're going to see the same thing. It's another 30-day minimum wait period. You need to apply for that exam again. It will be another cost for that test. So each new attempt is just the same as the previous one. Okay, well, what happens then? Let's keep going. If I don't pass a third attempt, well, this is where things change just a little bit. From here, you have to wait a full year before you can take that exam again. And I want to be clear, this is for the same exam type. So this is not MA and then phlebotomy and then EKG. This is MA, 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 right? So it's the same exam. So when we're talking about different types, that's a different conversation. But you have to wait a full year before you can retake that exam. And that's the same for all additional exams while you're eligible still to test. Now, I want to make this clear. We don't want you to have to do this. We don't want you to keep taking tests. And that's why everything we talked about it today with preparing for following these best practices, if you don't pass on that first attempt, it is totally possible to pass on the second. We see it very doable for you to get that certification following just a few of the best practices that we mentioned here today. So I hope that answers that question, Mary.
Yes, it does, Laura. And I had another one come in. Can they use an iPad to take their national exam?
No, that's a wonderful question. The only time that you would be able to use a personal device to take the national exam, the certification exam, is if you were testing remotely through PSI. That's our third-party testing agency. Mobile devices, handheld devices, are not compliant to meet the needs of the high stakes security required for that remote exam. So it does need to be a standard, like an operating device, a laptop, a Chromebook does work, anything with that kind of standard operating system, but a mobile operating system will not work. So you cannot use it on that. Our study materials, you can use those resources. Some of the tools might not load quite right if you're using like your phone, for example, but the actual exam must be taken on some kind of a computer or in a testing space that will provide that for you. It's a great question.
Thank you. And then is scratch paper permitted when testing through live remote proctoring?
Great question. It is. Scratch paper is permitted no matter which tests you're taking. They will be provided by the proctor in any on-site test. But if you're testing remotely, you can have 2 pieces of scratch paper. You show them to the proctor. You'll have to take pictures of them in advance when you're logging into your test. And then you will also have to demonstrate that you're destroying those, ripping them up when you're complete with your exam. So yes, scratch paper is allowed when you're testing remotely, but there are processes in place to make sure it's secure. It's a great question.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions. Diego or Lauren, do you have any questions?
None on my end in chat.
Okay, I see that someone did just post something about how long is the exam. I'm just going to take you real quick. I want to show you, we talked about test plans right front and center, right early on. I'm just going to show you how to locate that test plan. So you can see here is all of our certifications. We're out on our website at nhanow.com, and you can locate any one that you want. So we're just going to pick one. And as you scroll down, you're going to see information around this profession, right? What's available to you? What does industry say? What's the need? And then we're going to get all the way to the bottom, and you'll be able to download the test plan for free. So right there is where you'll be able to see the test plan. You'll see how many scored questions there are on the exam. And then I remember I told you there are questions we won't score. So this exam has a total of 135 questions on it, but only 110 of them count. This exam will run for 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's for this exam. Other professions are going to be different. So you want to double check yours. So in this instance, you can see those number of questions on the exam that we're going to be focused on. And then here are the domains, the basic knowledge and tasks we're going to ask you to, we're going to be testing you from. So that amount of time will vary. I'm just going to go back depending on your exam. So look at that test plan. If you're wanting to know how long the test is, your practice tests, right? Try to follow that same timeline. If you have a baseline or a final, it's automatically going to be timed to that same time. So that's really important for you to know. Use it that way so you can get comfortable with it. Are there any other questions?
There is another one that came in through the chat,
Yeah.
and the question is, can we use a certificate to apply for a job at the hospital as a PCT?
Absolutely. I mean, if you have an NHA certification, patient care certification, and there's a patient care position open, it sounds perfect. Yes, that sounds like an ideal situation for sure.
Perfect.
I see. Is it recommended to take all the exams? Oh, well, all the exams would be a lot and unnecessary, probably. It's unlikely that a pharmacy technician would also need to have a medical assisting certification, for example. But I can tell you that when we're talking about stacking credentials, that having those make you much more valuable as a potential candidate, as an employee, because you then show you have multiple skill sets. You kind of move up the ladder when it comes to payment, but also the ability to really pick where you work, right? You're more employable the more skills you have. So if you are eligible, eligibility is key. You definitely want to make sure that you double check those pieces. But stacking credentials is a wonderful way. Stacking all 8 would be a little bit excessive, but many are very stackable together. Medical assisting and phlebotomy in some states is a common one. EKG and patient care, right? These are different things that work together. E-records applies to all certifications as long as you're eligible. So double check that eligibility, but stacking credentials is a wonderful opportunity. All right, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pause the recording here. I do want to say thank you. We are going to stick around and answer questions live for a little bit longer, but thank you everybody for joining us. Please fill out that survey. Lauren, if you can post that one more time in the chat to everyone, fill out that survey for us today, and then we're going to stick around for a little bit longer and answer questions just as we go. But thank you everyone for joining us. Expect an email in the next week or so with a recording, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.